August 13th, 2019, a date which will live in infamy. The greatest German vehicles in War Thunder was removed by Gaijin Entertainment. I ask that all the War Thunder players remember this date, for it changed the game and put a bad reputation on Gaijin for many, many years. Now, I remember saying that I would never complain about these vehicles being removed from War Thunder because they added the Sturm Tiger, but you see, the video I'm making today, I kind of have to complain about it just a little bit, because the topic for today is the German blueprint or German prototype vehicles that was never made, and what they would have been like if they saw combat, because I'm obviously a very well-known tank expert, as seen in my M4 versus T-34 videos. Man, you should look at the comment section on that, but anyways, I will say it is highly recommended that I have you watch the World War II German tanks video that I'll have a little, pop-up icon show up. But as for today, we're going to be continuing on what I talked about in that video. But first I do kind of want to scroll down this because I did get War Thunder on the laptop, but I couldn't exactly get it the way I wanted. So I was like, well, crap. But anyways, as you can see, we're going to be talking about some German vehicles, how most of the ones in War Thunder just straight up did not exist or couldn't have even been possible to exist. But we're going to be talking about this here. So I think the first one we should actually talk about is the Flakpanzer 341 or the Coelian. So, as it reads on this post, the Flakpanzer 341, or Coelian, as it originally was, is a German SPAAG design based on the Panther chassis, previously occupied the rank 5 spot before switching places with the more advantageous and deadly Kugelblitz in-game, and has since been the rank 4 German SPAAG, or the anti-aircraft gun. Whilst the vehicle was fully designed and proposed, due to the wartime situation, no full prototype or production model was ever created. Only a full-scale wooden mock-up of a weaponry and turret mounted on a full metal Panther chassis was ever made of this machine. In Update 1.91, the Ostwind II will take its position in the research tree, and the Flakpanzer 341 will become a collectible vehicle, as it was never fully completed. Project and other late-war anti-aircraft already offered superior alternatives to this machine. Because the Ostwind II needed to exist, which is arguably even a vehicle that never exists to this day. But I'll cover that in a moment, because they just replaced a vehicle by basically saying a full version wasn't thought up, even though it had a wooden mock-up of the turret on a Panther G hull. I wonder what other vehicles were never fully built, but they basically have in-game, because it was like, oh, well, it was built. Russian tech tree. So the Flakpanzer 341, which if I go over here, I can find it right here. So the Flakpanzer 341 Coelian, like I said, it was an interesting vehicle. I think, wow, okay, so it's currently sitting at 6.3. Well, that's interesting. As you can see, it's on a Panther G hull, if this thing would freaking load. And it's got really good weapons here. So yeah, I mean, we can swap here, show you other alternative images that my internet just so happens to be so incredibly dog water slow. But yeah, so this is the Flakpanzer 341 that got replaced by a vehicle that also has many issues and arguable if it even existed in the first place. So, this thing of war, I mean, I don't know, it's an anti-air. I mean, obviously the Panther G hull was pretty protected for an anti-air. So in terms of anti-air, it'd be great. I mean, it could kind of survive against other tanks. Obviously, if they shot the turret, it obviously would not be fine anymore. But it's definitely better than the Ostwind II, easily, at least the one in War Thunder, because this thing would have been a beast. If this thing would have actually existed, it would have been a pretty good anti-air. Would it have been a little too expensive to make? Probably. So it was probably better to go with the Kugelblitz and other things. But having a few models of this would have probably worked really well. So I would probably say this would have been a decently effective vehicle in World War II for at least the purpose that it was made for. Next, I do want to mention the Ostwind II, because they added new vehicles in the tech tree. The M48A2C, which replaced the 105 Tiger. I'm still angry about that. And then the Ostwind II, which replaced the Coelian. So Besides the above-mentioned addition of the Ostwind II to replace the Flakpanzer 341 Coelian, there'll also be a few other vehicle changes. Like, bro, does this thing even, like, here, let me pull this up. Let me pull this up. I wasn't going to do this on my Xbox because I can't really edit videos on my Xbox. I don't think you guys want a full unedited 1 hour long video of me talking about things that should only be about roughly 20 minutes. So, going here to the Ostwind II, I swear, even if one did exist, it wouldn't look like the one that's in War Thunder. I mean, I don't even think it had the little, like, metal in between the two cannons. I think it was a full space if it would have existed. There still really isn't any confirmation that this thing did exist. Like, there was the Ostwind, but I don't know about the Ostwind II. So, this made so much sense that they put in a vehicle that replaced a vehicle because, which, honestly, it replaced the Flakpanzer 341, which was more of a vehicle than this thing was, because there still really isn't many sources, or even any sources that I know of, that state the existence of this thing, and there's no pictures, so it's really just put together of, oh, I think it existed, let's replace a vehicle that half existed, because that makes sense. But yeah, just wanted to mention that, you know. The Panther II. Now, War Thunder's Panther II is my personal favorite. World of Tanks Panther II is probably a little more accurate looking than this one, because they have the hull for the Panther II. Because, I mean, some people speculate that the Panther II was actually the E-75, or not the E-75, the E-50, but it was not the E-50. It was clearly the Panther II. If you look at it, the real Panther II in real life has a Panther G turret on it because they just wanted to complete it. Because we're making the Panther II because it needed thicker side armor before they added the little side plates to the vehicles to solve that problem. Making a whole other tank series would have just not been effective. But reading what it says here, the Panther II and War Thunder draws upon many historical Panther projects and developments, such as the Panther II chassis that was built but is also armed with the advanced Schmoltorm turret design, as well as incorporating plans to mount an 8.8 centimeter on a Panther, and several other proposals such as an engine improvements and night vision technology, all of which are historical proposals, or they were actually built but not on the real Panther II. The version we have in game is not the Panther II as it historically should be. As such, with the advent of the Leopard family, as well as the incoming M48A2C, in 1.91, the Panther II will be retired to a collectible vehicle for all who owned it before the update. Now, you can actually still test drive this in-game if you play the tutorial. You can play it in there, but that's really the only way you could play it without having other methods like joining. There's ways to test drive these removed vehicles, I'll just say that. But it's a little bit computer only, and it's a little bit of file moving. But my mouse has mouse wheel drift, if that's even a thing. Yeah, see, I'm not even touching the mouse and it's scrolling up. Stop. All right. So, the Panther II, the World of Tanks Panther II is definitely the more historically accurate version of the Panther II. But looking at this, like, if this thing would have existed, if they basically combined all these other Panther projects into this would have been the first MBT. This hands down would have been the first MBT. And the 1950s, when this probably would have, well, it might have existed in 1947, maybe. If 1947 rolled around, they probably would have had something like this. So we could have had the first MBT in 1947. Do you know how insane that is to think about? That we could have had a Panther II that looks like this. It's got night vision technology. It has the 88 millimeter, so it's got the same gun, maybe even slightly more effective than the Tiger's 88 millimeter gun. It's got gun stabilizers, as you can see the little bulges in the turret. And it is just insane. Like, it had the most mobility of any of the Panthers. It would have had the most mobility. Better armor. The turret, eh. But yeah, this is great. If this thing would have existed, this would have been the first MBT. And I honestly, dude, I wish. So tank museums do, break apart tanks and put them back together with, newer parts so they don't break down. If one of the museums were to make this, do you know how insane that would be? I don't know. That's just me speaking. But yeah, the Panther II, love it. They actually, I don't think they replaced the Panther II with anything. I think it was just that iconic, because I mean, since it was basically only existed in War Thunder, it was like War Thunder's kind of iconic top tier tank at the time. So it was basically their cover page of the German tanks, so obviously they didn't want to replace that. And actually a few other games, I think there's actually a mod for Gates of Hell that adds a bunch of Wunderwaffe vehicles, and it does actually include the Warthunder variant of the Panther II, but sadly the mod is not currently up to date with the current version of the game, so that's why I haven't made a video on it. But up next, God, this is ridiculous. All right, so the 105 Tiger in game called the Tiger II 10.5 centimeter KWK. So veterans of War Thunder ground forces will remember that the Tiger II, or the 105 Tiger, was the crown jewel of the German tech tree during the early stages of development. Added as a counterpart to the IS-4 at the time, this tank is based on a 1944 Krupp proposal to mount the 105mm KWK L68 cannon on the existing Tiger II design that was rejected and never actually built. Ground forces and the German tech tree, in particular, has expanded exponentially since this tank was a necessary requirement for the German lineup, and it no longer has a requirement to be within the main tree as a researchable vehicle. Now, this one, I actually fully understand why they removed it. This one, it should have been, I honestly agree with this. This should have been removed. I don't agree about the Flakpanzer 3 for one. I don't agree about the Panther 3, but this I do agree with, because let me show you what I'm talking about. I think it will have a picture, because this thing is just freaking, like... So if you look at the 105 Tiger, which I honestly personally would love to own in this game, I would still like it to be in the game, but I completely understand 100% why they removed this. So the 105 Tiger, it looks very, very similar to the normal Tiger, other than the longer and bigger gun barrel and these little tiny bulges in the turret, which is for the gun stabilizer, which... I'll show you what's funny about this gun stabilizer right here. It's, or this rangefinder, my bad. The rangefinder. Did I say gun stabilizer for the Panther II? My bad. This is supposed to be a rangefinder. But let me scroll down through this article. This is all on the warthunder.com page. There should be... Oh, there's not. Okay, well... Let me just... You'll see what I'm talking about here. I really don't... I mean, if you look at it in game, you can kind of see the issue with the tank, because I can't really scroll in. Yeah, I can't really scroll in, but dude, I don't have... I'll probably just put a clip of somebody that was looking at the tank. Honestly, I'll have a bunch of clips and videos of people playing these vehicles in War Thunder. I will have a bunch. Little element runs. But if you look at the little x-ray that shows like the internal modules, the rangefinder clips into the gun breech. It is like part of the gun breech, which is freaking funny. And the 105 millimeter gun breech would not have... I mean, it would have fit in the turret, but like you couldn't have had 4 crew members up in there. Like it was just no feasible way this tank could have existed. And apparently, in World of Tanks, the E75 is basically the 105 Tiger, but I don't think that's fully accurate either. Now we're going to talk about the mouse. I do actually own this in War Thunder. In game, the mouse is really the natural equivalent of other rare vehicles like the IS-7 and E-100 and Object 279, might I add. Large numbers of these machines should never really be present, and the role that they play is very limited. In the exact case of the mouse, it is exceptionally strong armor can be a menace for lower rank ground vehicles, whilst higher rank machines with more powerful AP armor-piercing discarding Sabo, Heat, and even APFS-DS have no trouble overriding the mouse's one key advantage. The design of the tank sacrifices speed and maneuverability for this overwhelming armament and protection, which outclasses almost all World War II designs, yet because rather meaningless when compared to post-war designs. As such, with Update 1.91, the mouse will become a rare event collectible vehicle, being hidden from standard research, and will now only be obtainable in future events and other opportunities later in the future. So... basically, I'm just going to reiterate here. Large numbers of these machines should never fully be present, and the role that they play is very limited. So basically, you don't want large numbers of these vehicles to be in game because there was only one ever made, and it was just at this weird spot in the tech tree where it was either too armored or too under armored. So if you're going to use that logic, The T28/T95 should be the same like the Mouse, since there was only one of those made. The Super Pershing should also be the same way, since there was only one of those made. And I mean, they kind of did that with the IS-7 and E100, which War Thunder's E100 is not what the E100 would have looked like. And the Object 279, they've never brought back. They had it for one event, and they have never brought it back in anything. Anything. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I mean, at least I brought it back, and I have it just because it's the freaking Mouse. But, you know, it just doesn't... It doesn't really... Yeah, it just doesn't. I mean, I can pull up a Mouse in here, but I don't really think I need to as much because I have it in War Thunder. I mean, look, it's right. I think I just accidentally clicked E100. Okay, no. Mouse. Let's take a look at this thing, shall we? Yeah, so here's the Mouse. 128 millimeter gun, as well as a smaller coaxial 75 millimeter. I mean, this thing... 177 tons. I think there's like literally the Mouse that did exist is currently in a Russian tank museum in the Kubinka. I don't know how to pronounce it. Tank museum in Russia, near Moscow, Russia. So, I mean, if anybody wants to go travel around the world just to see that, a Sturm Tiger and a Karl Garat, then be my guest. I would personally love to go. I just don't have the money. But yeah. Yeah, this is at least the War Thunder section, but there are at least a few more German blueprint vehicles that I'm going to cover today. Oh, and don't worry, any vehicles that I don't cover, I'll probably cover in the German WWII vehicle, which I will be making tomorrow. That will cover more than just tanks, just any of the insane things the Germans were planning or wanting to make in World War II. But I have a few more things we can pull up here. Let me go to my files here. Okay, so I think you can kind of see what I've been looking at as of recently. So if we pull up, let's pull up the E10 here. This is the E10. So this is the E series, the famous E series of tanks that did exist, that was, you know, planned to be made. These would have probably come out around the 1950s. As you can see, this is very similar looking to what the Hetzer was. This was supposed to be the replacement for the Jagdpanzer 38T, or the Hetzer. Which is why, you know, I kind of wanted you to watch the German World War II vehicle, because I talk about the tanks that these replace. So yeah, this would have been the replacement to the Hetzer. Oh no, don't tell me I'm getting hiccups. I don't know, this thing, it looks so weird. I don't know if this would have been, this is like, this looks like the older brother to the Tonk. I'm not even going to lie to you, which any of you who watch Cone of Arc will know exactly what the Tonk is. But this thing is just so weird looking. I don't even think this is in World of Tanks. Yeah, it's not even in World of Tanks, I don't think. But yeah, that's the E10. Next would have been the E25, which the E10, the numbers kind of stand for how much they would weigh-ish in tons. So about 10 tons would be the weight of that. So the E25 would have been around 25 tons. Now this has basically the gun of the Panther, but it's on a interesting, like this is kind of like the Lang and the Panzer 470. It's kind of a mix of the two, really, if you think about it. But this would have replaced that line. It would have replaced the Panzer 470V, and this is what we would have got. It would have been, I honestly think this would have been really good. This is probably about the second vehicle I think would have actually been good if it was made. All the other vehicles, they would not have worked, or they just not feasibly possible. This, I think, would have actually been good to have. But by the 1950s, I don't know. Maybe not by the 50s, because these would have probably come out in or around 1950. But the war obviously didn't go on that long. So, I mean, yeah, I think this would have probably worked as a vehicle. I mean, if you look at the vehicles similar to this, they did perform pretty well. At least the Stug 3s did. Stug 3s. But this probably would have been similar to that. Although, obviously, its lack of turret would have been a massive downgrade. So the E50... This is, I mean, if you look at this, you're probably like, oh, wow, that looks very similar to... The turret is different than the small-term turret is a different turret. This looks very similar to the Panther F, I will say. But the E50 was basically the Tiger II hull with Panther turret. And this is kind of the turret they would have had. So this would have been, you know, this would have been even more heavily armored than the Panther II would have been. So... This would have come after the Panther II, Which honestly, at this 50 tons, yeah, this is a heavy tank. This would have been basically a heavy tank. I mean, you're getting the Tiger II hull with the Panther turret. What do you think it's going to expect? And I think it does have a 75. I think this would have been a 75. I don't think it was going to have the 88 because that was a different project. Now there is actually 2 E75s in World of Tanks. There's the one that's basically the 105 Tiger, and then there's this one. So I'm thinking this possibly could have been what the E75 was supposed to be. Now this does look very ridiculous, I will say. But yeah. So, sorry, I got a message. This thing, 75 tons, I don't know, that's kind of up there. That's like modern day tank levels of weight. I don't think this would have worked because I mean by then there was the IS-3s and you know America would have had the T-28, the T-29 maybe, possibly even the T-30, maybe even the T-34, but I don't think like this would have probably been an easy thing to deal with by then. So I don't think that would have worked. I mean, I could have pulled up the other E75, which, like I said, World of Tanks has 2 of them. One is basically just the 105 Tiger, and the other one was what I just showed you. Next is the Lauva. Basically the Lion. This would have been called the Lion. This thing, it looks so derpy looking, but the gun barrel is very clearly really, really good. The only reason I wish this was made just so we could have actually had a full German cat lineup. We could have had the Pumas, which are those little wheeled vehicles. Obviously modern day Leopards. We would have had the Panther, the Tiger, the Lion. All right. Yeah, we would have had like the main cats. And that's just insanity. These, I don't know. These probably also kind of the same thing. By the time this would have come out, it probably would not have been as effective. So I would probably say, I mean, a gun. This gun is basically like the Object 120. Like if you look at that, the Object 120, the armor sucks, but it's such a long 152 millimeter gun barrel that it would have just been ridiculous, which I'll probably have a picture of what the Object 120 looks like because I haven't really dived into that. But the E100, what it's actually supposed to look like, not the Warthunder one. This is what the E100 would have looked like. See how ridiculous looking this looks like? This just looks ridiculous. I mean, look at this thing. This is like probably one of the stupidest tank designs. Well, actually, no, I take that back. The TV-8. The TV-8 is the most stupid looking tank design, but that's a different vehicle. That's for the American video that I will make. Not here soon, but I will make an American video talking about prototype vehicles. That thing is so stupid looking. But yeah, as you can see, if you look at these 2 files, you can see what I was trying to get here in War Thunder, which only one of them worked, and it was not the KV6, sadly. But yeah, so this is what the E100 would have looked like. And let me close out of files here. So yeah, this is basically what we would have been looking like in the times of being made. So yeah. That's my video on the German blueprint vehicles. I mean, obviously there was a lot I didn't cover. I didn't cover the Rat or, you know, the E79 or any of these other famous prototype vehicles, but I will save that for the German Wunderwaffe video, which I will be hopefully making tomorrow if I have the time. I know I am doing a lot tomorrow, but we'll see. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video and enjoy this background because I'm not biased to what my favorite tank is. No, my favorite tank isn't even a tank, but you know, this is just the world we live in. So adios. Feel free to roast me in the comments. And have a good day. See you later.